I'm Rich Manders from FreeScale Coaching, and I've been a Gazelle certified coach for a little over 3 years, but that's not really the story. The story is I've been a coach teaching the Gazelle stuff for about 20 years. I met Vern in late 90s, and my business partner and I used that framework and coached each other along the way to scale up a business and hit the pinnacle of growing profitability and being able to do that while having freedom, getting freedom. And that was why we named the business FreeScale, because what we saw from many of our peers was as you grow your business, your freedom actually goes the other way. How many have experienced that? About half, right? And so we tried to come up with a way, and we're dedicated to solving that. And I met Sloan 3 years ago at the summit, and we had a great lunch, and we stayed in touch. And this is a story that he can tell you about how his journey has gone with the Rockefeller habits and with us.
Thank you, Rich. Before we get started, if you can raise your hand if you're on the internet daily. If you use the internet daily, raise your hand. All right, keep your hands up if you're on the internet for more than 2 hours a day. How about 5 hours a day? 10 hours a day? There's still a few hands up. So the internet has really changed our lives over the last 15 years. And I want to share my story with you about how to scale an internet company over the last 4 years. So about 20 years ago, I get a random email from my college roommate, and it was Vern's Weekly Insights. And from that simple email, I've used Rockefeller habits for the better part of the last 20 years. And about 4 years ago, I started attending these conferences. I met Rich and Wayne, and over the last year, I've brought them on board because what I found is it's easy to grow a business, but it's really hard to scale it. And so these guys have let me scale my business and want to share some of the stories that I've had. So what is a kid from Brooklyn, that would be me, with dyslexia, really, how does that connect with Rockefeller habits? So when I read, this is what I see. You guys see something very different. And with that, as a CEO of a $100 million plus company, how do I take all that chaos, the chaos that all of us see every day running our businesses, and make sense of it? How do I create structure from that chaos? And the answer is simple, it's Rockefeller habits. So I often say to my team, Rockefeller habits, doing Rockefeller habits, it's like making sausage. It's messy, it's dysfunctional, it's ugly. But at the end of the day, you have a great looking sausage and a great tasting sausage. So I want to share a little bit about making that sausage at my company, PulsePoint. So if you think back 30 years ago, if you wanted to trade a stock, you would send an order in, and there'd be a guy in the New York Stock Exchange trading pits who would execute a trade for you. A very dysfunctional, highly inefficient, labor-intensive process. Today, you fast forward, 99% of those trades are done programmatically through fiber and through computer buying. Much like that, online advertising, which is what my company does, has transformed the way people buy digital advertising online. But this is the way it looked like a few years ago. Highly labor-intensive, highly inefficient, not very scalable. And today, 3 years later, the world has been transformed in digital advertising, and it's a very simple process. Computers make the decisions on what media to buy. And so PulsePoint is essentially the stock market for digital advertising. We see 18 billion, that's with a B, advertising impressions a day. That's 400,000 impressions a second. So we have lots of scale. And the question is, how do you do that at scale and leverage your core assets? And once again, Rockefeller is the answer. So we show the right ad or the right piece of content to the right person at the right time in the right place. The challenge is, much like what Vern just talked about a few minutes ago with biology and sort of Darwinism, we operate in a very competitive space. This is the competitive landscape we operate against. There are hundreds of companies who do what we do, and everyone does it a little bit differently. And so how do you really focus on success in that marketplace? How do you win? Well, of course, it's Rockefeller habits. So I know Vern is probably upset, and this is blasphemy for him, because I use a pyramid and he likes to use a one-page strategic plan, but this is a very good visual for our company that we use. And we embed Rockefeller habits in everything we do. This is our old office. It was a 75-foot wall, and what you'll see here is our core values. You'll see our purpose. You'll see our quarterly goals written on the wall for everyone to see and live and breathe. This is our new office. Right when you walk in, you see our core values, very emblematic of what we do and who we are as a company. And this is our new office. We're actually creating a 100-foot wall. It's going to be a 3D wall, and it encapsulates all of our core values. It's very interactive for the team. So once again, we incorporate everything we do at Rockefeller into everything we do. This also includes a team member recognition system. So this is where you can go online and recognize one of your team members. And when you do recognize one of your team members and you send them virtual points, you have to recognize them based around the core value that they represented. In our hiring process, we incorporate Rockefeller habits. Here you have to list and choose whether they meet the criteria around our core values. And so our purpose is to save the world from bad advertising by making ads matter. And our secret sauce is really based around the 3HAG process. And I want to bring Rich in to share some of his insights into our 3HAG process.
So Pulse Point is backed by venture capital, and part of the process is to get the business to a place where the next buyer comes in. And so the 3HAG, which stands for 3-year highly achievable goal, is to drive towards that model. And during the process of doing the planning, focusing out to that 3-year mark and having a really clear, highly achievable plan to get there where we needed to get was really polarizing for the team. And it was also what got the motion happening in the business, which Sloan's going to describe. When we did the planning process at the end of last year, we were able to put some anchors out there that now we're moving towards in a very fast way. And it was very transformational for the team and for us to go through that process.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, we're in a highly competitive space. And so we really had to ground our strategy, not in the here and now, but in the future. And so what does that future look like? 12 months ago, when we started this process and we determined what we needed to do to grow and to scale our business, we said it's going to be a function of the products that we released. So today, over $60 million of our revenue comes from products that didn't exist 12 months ago. And so what you'll see here is from the beginning of the year until last week, the revenue growth on all these products. So we've had to move quick, and we've had to be nimble and scale our business. And once again, Rockefeller habits and our great coaches have allowed us to do that. And I share this with the team almost on a daily basis. It's one of my favorite quotes from Jack Welch: change before you have to. If you fail to change and you have to change when you have to, it's too late. And so how have we done? We've scaled our business from 2012 when I came on board and I implemented the Rockefeller habits. We've scaled our business from 25 million to we'll do close to $120 million this year, and we've done so very profitably. And once again, all based around Rockefeller habits. And that represents 70% compounded annual growth rate every year. And with that, we focused on people and making sure we've created a great environment and a great place to work. And we've been recognized through many periodicals for the great work that our team has done in creating a great culture. And so that's my formula for success. It's first, embed Rockefeller habits in everything that you do. Make it a part of who you are as a company. Second, in order to scale your business, you need great coaches. So if you're like me and you were reticent about hiring a coach, now's the time to do it. It will allow you to scale your business beyond your dreams. And last but not least, it's about changing before you have to. So I want to challenge you with one thing. Write down in front of you on a piece of paper, how are you going to change your business before you need to change your business?
So it's interesting. Rich, tell them a little bit of background. You scaled up a very successful company and then ended up at Riverside, and just mentioned the Sparkle. I just put that in one of my latest Fortune columns.
So we had two kind of boosts in our growth. The first one was using the Rockefeller habits.
Tell them what the company was.
So we were a distributor, and still are, I'm still a part owner of the company, of high-tech automation gear. We scaled it up to about 15 million in 2007 from a start about 10 years before then. And then we brought in private equity partners, got a very good valuation, enough that we were able to be very comfortable. And one of the key things that they pointed out was that impressed them. We ended up with 6 offers for the business also, which is a big part of the equation of getting a high valuation, was how they could go to any human in our company, and it was a paper system then, and everybody had their own one-page plan. The shipping clerk could say, I know where we're going, we're headed for 20 million, and here's my role in making that happen. So that was the first part, and then the private equity fund is called Riverside, and they're an amazing company, 28 years old, have done 420 transactions, and they have a 25% annual rate, internal rate of return over all that time. You put, and a 2.5 times cash on cash. So you put $1 million in, you get $2.5 million back in 5 years or so, 5 to 7 years. So really great company. And what we learned was their framework, which they call Sparkle. And it's an acronym for all the things you need to do to build value in a business. The video's coming out next week. And I won't get into that, but essentially we've used that model to 8x our business again to the next level. And that's what we teach, is the Rockefeller habits as the foundation, and then Sparkle on top of that to build the value in your organization. And all those things are good whether you're selling or not selling. They make your business easier to run, more profitable. We built our business around a 3 to 5x multiple on our average industry profitability using those tools in both ends.
Give them a hand. Thank you so much, Sloan, for sharing. Rich.